What's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and this video was previously recorded on our Raiders YouTube channel here at Chat Sports. But if you're looking for more NFL draft content because it is next week, then hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Coming up right now, some wild trade ideas around the Las Vegas Raiders. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, I have 5 wild trades that the Raiders could potentially make during the 2023 NFL Draft. We spend the entire offseason looking at mocks, looking at who the Raiders could potentially take at number 7. And if anything, I'm an honest dude. A lot of the times when I was a little kid, I would lock my door, I wouldn't let my parents come into my room, and I would watch Girls Gone Wild. When I think about NFL draft trades, that's what I think of. So today, we are going to get wild. And if you want to get wild with Jeremy Chugs and I during the NFL Draft, we're going to be live on day 1, Day 2, and Day 3, all 12 picks. So hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. So what you're going to see here coming up is my 5 different trade ideas, because there's all these different scenarios that Ziegler, that McDaniels could potentially make for their moves. So I'm going to tell you why it makes sense for the Raiders. I'm going to tell you why it makes sense for the team that they're making the deal with. And then we're going to look at the trade, and you can go down in the comments and tell me what you think of it. So the first idea is the Las Vegas Raiders trade up to number 2 with the Houston Texans. The reason why the Silver and Black would do this is because if you're going to move up this many spots, you're going to get your quarterback. There was reports out there that the Las Vegas Raiders were looking at potentially trading with the Chicago Bears, but the Carolina Panthers jumped them at number 9. There was a report that came out this week from Adam Schefter that said that the Texans aren't sold on taking a QB at number 2. The way that the NFL works, the way that this Raiders offseason has essentially worked, is if there's a connection in some way, and when I say connection, I basically mean if somebody is somehow connected to the Patriots, then that's going to be a connection. So Nick Caserio, Dave Ziegler, good old buddies from their time in New England. What happens if they don't want to take a quarterback at number 2? They have a pick at 12. They could wait to see if somebody's available there. We know DeMeco Ryans wants to be able to rebuild this team, I believe potentially from a defensive standpoint. So I look at that and I'm like, all right, Houston goes, who's my number 1 friend I'm going to call? I'm going to call up my good old buddy, Josh McDaniels. I'm going to call up Dave Ziegler, give them the first crack at it. And if that comes to fruition, well, here we go. My first trade idea. The Las Vegas Raiders, they received the number 2 overall pick, and then you get a 3rd-round pick thrown into that on top, so number 73 overall. That would give the Raiders now 3 third-round picks. However, though, as you can see, Houston, they get your first 3 picks, so 7, 38, and 70, and then a first-round pick in 2024. I've made a few of these videos already on this channel, so every single trade that you're going to see is one that I haven't already previously put out there. But if you're new to the show, I am a big-time person that needs interaction. I don't want to be the dude that's talking to myself at a bar. If you see somebody like that, it's probably time to cut them off anyway. So when I ask you a question, please let me know your generic thoughts. Who wins this trade idea? If you think it's the Raiders, type Raiders. If you think it's the Texans, type Texans. It's very important on today's show that you write exactly what I ask. That way, when I look in the comments later, I can see what trade you're talking about and know exactly what you're talking about. Let's go to the next trade idea here on the Raiders Report. This time, you're going to go up to number 3 with the Arizona Cardinals, and for the exact same reason why you traded with number 2 is the exact same freaking reason you're going to move to number 3 here. You're going to be looking to go out and get a quarterback. So you're looking to get your QB. I believe that's either going to be Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. If none of those guys are there, I just hope for the love of God that the Raiders don't do something extremely crazy and stupid, but then again, it wouldn't be the Raiders otherwise. So there's a report out there right now that 6 teams have called about the number 3 pick. The Raiders are, in fact, one of those teams. And if you're the Raiders, you could potentially need to jump ahead of the Indianapolis Colts. Raider Nation, we got a brand new sponsor here on the Raiders Report that I know that y'all are going to need and you're going to like it a lot. So let me tell you a little bit about Z-Biotics. Let's face it, after y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats, I don't bounce back well the next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. Drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So what I wanted to be able to do is show you how simple, compact this is. And you can see it's got a cool little logo right there. Nice and easy. You got to shake before you use. You don't have to refrigerate. I'm going to be honest, I kind of wish I had this before a bachelor party. Chugs and I, we took down one before our Raiders watch party, our happy hour show on Friday. And this is a product that if you plan on watching the show, I'm telling you, you're going to need it. Let me continue to talk about ZBiotics here. Give ZBiotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guaranteed, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. So what the heck are you guys waiting for? Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports for 15% off your order, and if you can't find that link, I'm going to put it in the comments, and I'm going to put it in the description of today's show. Huge shout-out and thanks to ZBiotics for sponsoring the Raiders Report. All right, so let's look at this trade idea here. It's between the Raiders and the Cardinals. Las Vegas gets the number 3 overall pick, and then Arizona's going to throw in a 4th rounder at 105. The Cardinals, they get a first-round pick, so number 7, your 3rd-round pick at 70, and then a first-round pick in 2024. I want to know down in the comments who wins this trade. Type LVR for the Raiders or ARI for the Cardinals. I probably should have mentioned also a little bit earlier in the show that every trade that you're looking at checks out from the NFL trade value chart. I'm not just throwing picks on here and saying 2 + 2 = 4. No, this mathematically does end up checking out. Let's go to the next trade idea here on the Raiders Report, sponsored by ZBiotics. Trade back to number 11. You traded up to number 2 with your good old buddy, Nick Caserio. Well, guess what? Now you're going to be trading back to number 11 with your good old buddy, Mike Vrabel. McDaniels, Ziegler, they have that relationship, and I know for a fact that Tennessee's looking for a quarterback. Why? Because, well, they don't have one right now. So you could potentially trade back with a team that you trust, and you'd be able to help out your buddies as well. On top of that, maybe I'm overthinking this a little bit. I'm a competitive dude, right? Whether it's family, whether it's friends, and there's a part of me that if I'm Tennessee, I'm looking at Arthur Smith in Atlanta at pick number 8. I would love for the Titans to be able to jump right in front of them because even though Atlanta says they're not interested in a quarterback, I don't know, man, if I'm buying it. I'm just going to tell you, not sure if I'm 100% buying it. So for Tennessee, revenge would be pretty sweet. You jump in front of Atlanta, you jump in front of Arthur Smith, and this is the trade that I think could end up getting it done. Raiders get pick 11 and pick 41, so you add an extra 2nd-round pick, and in return, you give them your number 1, so number 7 overall, and then you swap out Waller. If you're telling me right now that Darren Waller trade results and pick 41, yeah, tell me where the hell I signed up for that. So who wins this deal? LV or TEN? And don't just be a lame-o and just give me an LV or a TEN. Hell, any trade that I give you, go above and beyond. Be an extra overachiever. Tell me why you like the deal and give me some other ideas of some trades that potentially you would have thrown in there. Let's go to the next trade. Back to number 14 with the Patriots. Honestly, I could just skip this part right here because 14 Patriots, everyone's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because Patriots, it's the connection. I think that this makes sense, though, for New England more and the idea of Raiders want to get back. They want to trade back. New England wants a quarterback. Multiple reports out there that the locker room is split on Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones. If New England's not sold on Mac Jones, hell, if there's one guy I would try to sell Mac Jones to, it would be Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. That duo got Mac Jones in the 1st round, number 15 overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, and he made the Pro Bowl. So they have the connection. Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels are all buddy-buddy. Try to make the deal happen. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Every trade that I've shown you, I've liked. This one I don't like. Why? It's because I don't like Mac Jones. And I remember I put out on Twitter, if you don't follow me, hit me up, @MitchellRens365. 2 months ago, the worst thing possible would be Jimmy Garoppolo or Mac Jones. It would just be so much for Josh McDaniels to just flip me the big old bird and say, I'm going to give you both of them, Mitch. So the Patriots get pick 7. Raiders get 14, 76, and Mac Jones. In this value, I have Jones as a third-round pick in terms of the overall value. So who wins the deal? Give me a Las Vegas or give me a New England down below. If you just want to type Vegas, England, I don't know, whatever the hell it is. But that would really help me out. All right, let's go to the final trade here on the show. And these are all around the Raiders' number 7 pick, right? However, we've seen teams in the past not be afraid to trade up back into the first round. The first one off the top of my mind is Packers trade up to about pick 26 to get Jordan Love. So for this scenario, trade up to number 22 with the Baltimore Ravens. It's essentially me saying Lamar Jackson, him and Odell Beckham, they're like, all right, man, let's run this thing. Let's try to get it going. Baltimore's not looking at a quarterback. Could they potentially look to stockpile on picks, which they've done in recent years? So this time, Raiders don't take a quarterback early, but they see somebody on the board, whether they reach for a quarterback or maybe Anthony Richardson, Will Levis slides down the board. Nobody thought that Malik Willis would fall all the way to round 3. The NFL draft is weird, and things can absolutely happen. On top of that, there's been some reports out there that the Minnesota Vikings could potentially pick a quarterback. So for that reason, I'm just going to go, all right, we move up to 22. You take this pick, and then that way Minnesota can't get a QB. So here's the 5th and final trade idea here on the show. Number 22 goes to the Raiders. This time now the Baltimore Ravens, they get pick 38, so your second rounder. Pick 70, your first third rounder. Las Vegas would still have pick 100. And then a 5th round pick at 141. The Raiders still have then, on top of that, 2 other 5th rounders, closest at 144. So would you do this to potentially get a Hendon Hooker? To potentially get a sliding Will Levis or Anthony Richardson? I'll be real, I would be shocked if Richardson or Levis are there. But if the Raiders do personally like Hendon Hooker enough, and they think that that's going to be their guy next season, and you can get him at 22, and you pair that with a Chris Gonzalez, a Devin Witherspoon, hell, Tyree Wilson, whoever the hell's on the board. What do you think? Give me a Vegas. Give me a Baltimore. Who do you believe ends up winning this trade? Now, before I go, I showed you 5 trade ideas, so hopefully you're sticking here with me. And if you made it this far in the show, shout out to y'all, Spam RO4L, for being a real one down in the comments. What's your favorite trade idea? If it's the second trade idea, watch this. Type 2. If you think it's 3 or 4, type that one. If you want to throw in an extra trade idea, hell, you sat through my 5, I would be a bad host. I'd be a bad friend if I didn't at least look at yours. Huge shout out to everyone tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and as always, go Raiders.